We've already learned a lot from episode 78, and we've already guessed what's going to happen in episode 79, but we also know the approximate release date for episode 79. And it got me thinking, because in the future we can be shown a lot of things. For example, as you already know, Boom said that maybe in episode 79 he will show what Gman really talked about with Astro UFO. We've been going through this episode, and actually even now, we still have a lot of questions, like how Gman knew that he was going to be eliminated by the Astro toilets, because as we remember in this episode was not a real Gman but a fake version of him, and we knew that from his guns, because they were different from the original version. In fact, we don't know much about him, we only know about his past, that he was on the side of the Astro toilets, then something happened and he went to the planet Earth. Also, there is another popular theory that Gman is just a man from the restaurant, which turned into a skibidi toilet. This theory was valid until episode 74, and besides, the first episode of Skibidi Toilet were not serious about furthering a complex plot. Gman actually has a lot of secrets from us. Did you know that Gman isn't as simple as he seems at first glance? He's the only character who has kept up this battle for a very long time, since episode 7, and probably the only character who has had so many fake versions. But why would he do that? Has he really been hunted by Astro toilets throughout history? Gman has always had secrets from everyone, and the author of the series Boom said about him, so he is always one step ahead and he always has a plan. So in today's video, I have prepared for you a big reveal of this character, where we will learn everything about Gman. So do not forget to like, as it gives more motivation to create new videos. In the last video, we discussed with you all the secrets of the Speakerman race. The video turned out to be very rich and interesting. If you haven't seen it, click on the right corner. In this video, I'd like to tell you absolutely everything about G-Toilet, about his past, about the life he had when he was still under Astro toilets, about why he was suspended from Astro toilets. I'll also tell you about his secrets and details that almost nobody noticed. We'll discuss what can happen to him in the near future, for example, whether he will sacrifice himself for the common good, as well as what will happen to him after that extra scene from season 25. A little over a year ago, I already had a video like this coming out, but back then, the series and the G-Toilet personality itself wasn't as developed as it is now, and a lot has changed since then. So I have a lot to tell you. I'd like to start with Gman's past. We learned in episode 74 that before the main events of the series, he was a member of the Astro toilet race, but he was banished for an alleged attempted rebellion, the purpose of which was either to change the commander-in-chief's mind about endless battles against other planets, or he just wanted to take the place of the main Astro toilet, after which he was exiled to Earth with other Astro toilets. Later, he started to be active on our planet, which is shown to us throughout the series, and then, when he becomes too powerful, the main fleet of Astro toilets comes after him to deal with him. All this you already know, but what if I tell you that even in his name, there is proof that he is the commander-in-chief of the Skibidi toilets, namely his letter G, which has the abbreviation General. Well, or it's simple, it's just his name, because he is a character from the game Half-Life. Gman. Also, G-Toilet has been improved more than anyone in the entire series, namely 4 full times if you don't count his very first shown version. In that time, he has undergone a huge amount of changes, such as adding new lasers, goggles, vertical and horizontal jetpacks, as well as a core, arms, protective sheets of armor, and even an invisibility mode, making him the strongest character in the series so far. He can probably defeat anyone, even Astro Mothership. His behavior has also changed. If anyone doesn't remember, he used to behave very arrogantly, but after the death of Skibidi the scientist, he had to manage a huge army on his own, which requires a lot of responsibility and a lot of patience. But G-Toilet does it well, and in recent episodes, he has become very calm and measured, and now you don't have to worry about the well-being of his army and assistants. If before he could send several large units at once, now he almost everywhere he copes alone, but he doesn't neglect the help of his allies either. In general, he has changed dramatically, and if you compare the very first and the latest version of G-Toilet, they are nothing alike. Now, Let's give you some interesting facts about each of the versions of Gman, and then let's speculate on what the future of the series holds for him. After episode 17, many people have a theory that G-Toilet 1.0 can create energy shields, but that's just a theory. Although we were shown that Toilet Skibidi wasn't scattered by an explosion that was 2 times the size of G-Toilet, but it's unlikely since this ability wasn't shown later on. If we're talking about his version 1.0, we should also remember about his first theory, namely how he turned into a Skibidi toilet. In fact, this theory is not 100% true, although we have one very strong proof. We will talk about it very soon. In fact, if we promote the theory of Skibidi turning into a Skibidi toilet and becoming a G-toilet, we need to understand how it all happened. As we already know, Diamond turned into a G-toilet in episode 4. At that time, he was just in one of the restaurants, while outside Skibidi toilets were already starting to recruit their army. And when Skibidi toilets got to the restaurant, after the song Skibidi Dop Dop SSS, all the people turned into Skibidi toilets. You can tell by these 2 people in the restaurant. And as we know, Gman was here as well. He was without any ear protection, so we can safely assume that this is when he turned into a Skibidi toilet. And in episode 7, he first appeared as a toilet. You ask, why did it get bigger? I think from episode 4 to 7, Skibidi scientist was doing experiments on these people and thus enlarged him and the rest of the people from this restaurant, as this grandfather also enlarged in one of the episodes. And by the way, in general, I think that this restaurant was originally a trap Skibidi scientist, or rather a bait, because you probably already noticed that instead of chairs in the restaurant were toilets, and in place of food. Okay, everything was already prepared for infection, and these toilets did not just come here. There's nothing else of interest in version 1.0, so let's move on. Most likely, G-Toilet was upgraded to version 2.0 because he was afraid that the Alliance would sooner or later try to bring back the infected Titan Speakerman and try to rid him of Skibidi Parasite. He was also the strongest character in the series until Titan Cameraman 2.0 and Mecha Scientist came along. As for version 3.0, it can safely be called the most unsuccessful because it lasted only 1 episode, completely losing its power in it, but it can also be considered strong enough because it has 6 lasers as well as a mass with which you can ram your opponents, knocking them down. In version 4.01, small detail can be noticed. He made a head lunge, pushing away Astro Scorpion 2.0. It seems like nothing special, but it was the first time in the whole series, that is. Before that, we were not shown such actions from his side at all. He was also the only Skibidi toilet to receive a core like the Titans, and he used it to do a lot of damage to them in episode 73 by alternately releasing yellow and purple spheres, each of which is unique in its own way. For example, the yellow core is the most common charge that explodes when it hits an enemy. The purple core can infect the limb it hits, as seen in episode 72, where Astro Scorpion lost 2 claws and was badly damaged. Also, this core is very reminiscent of Titan's TV Man core, however it has a different color. In version 5.0, the GI tool gained an ability that none of the characters had, namely invisibility. If anyone doesn't remember, in the moment where he was approaching Astro Juggernaut, it was clearly visible that he appeared and disappeared. That was exactly what this ability looked like in action. With it, one could easily confuse opponents and then destroy them. And here it should be said that this technology was stolen from a secret agent, because for the first time about invisibility, we learned from the 3rd part of the 70th episode. Why stolen technology? Because in season 25, in one of the scenes, the secret agent gives a task to Lucky Cameraman to eliminate Skibidi Scientist together with the infiltration team, because he stole some of his technology, and from this I concluded that maybe he meant invisibility, because it was after the improvement of Gman, we noticed the ability of invisibility in him. By the way, G-Toilet is also a frequent guest of Troll Spoilers, and is present there almost always. Even the very first such spoiler was with him, or rather when a huge number of lasers appeared around him. The next Troll spoiler in which he appeared was episode 67, but there he was in the background and didn't play a role as such. His most legendary appearance was in the Troll Slive for episode 73. However, let's move away from the Troll Slives and get back to the main secrets and facts about G-Toilet. In the near future, G-Man has 2 major battles looming. The first battle is the final battle between him and Astro Juggernaut, where Gman will most likely be able to negotiate with Juggernaut, and he will side with Gman. The second battle, and the most dangerous for him, is the battle between him and TV Man's improved Titan. By the way, about the improved Titan, I already said that I don't think it's a wise decision to improve it, because Astro Toilets should have taken into account the failure with Speakerman Titan when it was improved, but the Alliance brought it back. I don't think it will happen again with TV Man, but still I think TV Man will get minor improvements since after the battle in episode 77, he looked terrible. The battle with TV Man will be the hardest for Gman, because basically they still haven't reconciled, and since taking over TV Man's mind, that feeling will intensify, and TV Man will fight to the max, and if TV Man gets any improvements from the Astro Toilets, I think TV Man won't stand a chance. Although Gman will improve too, because he still hasn't gotten legs, and he should have them in the near future. Because in episode 74, we saw the last unfinished Skibidi Scientist project stored in a container. It's an improvement on the Gman, and that's what we should see in the coming episodes. And this is where I got my theory that Gman may not survive in the future. I've always stuck to my theory that Gman near the end of the Skibidi Toilet episodes will die, or rather sacrifice himself for peace. After all, as with any work of fiction, there should be a gradual change in the character. I think Gman will sacrifice himself in some fight with the Astro Toilets or in another arc, because when I asked Dafukboom if there will be something after the Astro Toilets invasion, he said, yes, there will be a new arc after the Astro Toilets. Gman is one of the main characters in the Skibidi Toilet series, and the series won't seem the same without him, as he's been with the audience since the beginning. And imagine what would happen if he died in one of the scenes, for example in 60 or earlier episodes. Gman is one of the best characters in Skibidi Toilet, and I think we will learn more about him in the future. And if you've watched it up to this point, give it a like. Let's see how many of us there are.